Imagine making $453,000 in a single month as an affiliate marketer without relying on Google, Facebook, or ClickBank, or creating new accounts on Pinterest, Twitter, TikTok, or Instagram. This may
Attorney General Phil Weiser. You'll have Hello, everyone. I'm California Attorney General Rob Bonta, and I want to say thank you for joining us today. While I'm kicking us off today, I'm certainly not alone. I'm happy to be joined by my colleagues and co-leads on today's announcement, Delaware Attorney General Kathy Jennings and Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser. You'll have a chance to hear from each of them shortly. We're here today because President Trump and the so-called Department of Government Efficiency, also known as DOGE, are unlawfully dismantling AmeriCorps and turning away tens of thousands of volunteers who want to serve their communities and fellow Americans. As our nation's public service agency, AmeriCorps employees and volunteers are placed throughout our country to help address critical local needs, create public good, and foster a stronger sense of belonging. AmeriCorps brings out the best in 200,000 Americans each year who give their time and their energy to give back to our country. Trump and Elon Musk are attempting to cancel $400 million in grants, accounting for more than 40% of the agency's budget, and firing or putting on leave 85% of its workforce, effectively incapacitating an agency created and funded by Congress. The reality is Trump and Elon Musk don't have the right to gut AmeriCorps. They don't have the right to override Congress's decision to create and fund the agency. Trump and Elon are breaking the law, violating the Constitution, and trampling over the separation of powers. My fellow attorneys general and I will not allow it. We won't allow the president to demolish an agency that represents the best of who we are as a nation, the best of what we can be, which is why a coalition of 22 attorneys general and states are today filing a lawsuit against the president, challenging his attempt to dismantle this great American agency. The 16th lawsuit we filed in 14 weeks, 16 lawsuits in 100 days. I want to thank my fellow AGs for their partnership on this lawsuit and all of the others. And I also want to acknowledge the staff on our teams who worked on this day and night and throughout the weekend, including California DOJ's Civil Rights Enforcement Section. For more than 3 decades, AmeriCorps has given service-minded Americans the opportunity to roll up their sleeves and volunteer in communities around our country. Opportunities to build affordable housing, clean up our neighborhoods, connect veterans and seniors with essential services, rebuild communities after disasters, and more. When AmeriCorps volunteers sign up, they pledge to, this is a quote, get things done for America to make our people safer, smarter, and healthier. Part of the agency's mission is to award grants to local and national organizations and agencies that then recruit, place, and supervise volunteers. Our states rely on AmeriCorps grants to operate these programs and support our volunteers. Last year alone, California received more than $133 million in funding to support cost-effective community solutions and local partnerships that address some of our state's toughest challenges. The federal funding helped support more than 6,150 California volunteers who served at more than 1,200 locations, who provided more than 4.3 million hours of service at schools, at food banks, homeless shelters, health clinics, youth centers, veterans facilities, and other nonprofit and faith-based organizations, who tutored more than 73,000 students, supported 17,000 youth in the foster system, and planted nearly 40,000 trees. Earlier this year, AmeriCorps volunteers were deployed to Southern California to distribute supplies and support to families devastated by the fires in Los Angeles and the surrounding counties. They helped 26,000 households impacted by the LA fires and packed 21,000 boxes of food. That's until the Trump administration abruptly ended the program and sent them home with hours' notice. Instead of thanking and uplifting the volunteers willing and able to run toward an emergency to serve families in need, Trump set them packing. Heartless. By abruptly canceling critical grants and gutting AmeriCorps' workforce, Trump and Elon are effectively shuttering the National Volunteer Agency. Trump and Elon are slamming the door in the face of Americans who want to serve our nation. Serving in AmeriCorps was one of the most formative experiences I've ever had. It was back in the 1993 to 1995 period, shortly after the Clinton administration founded the agency. I was young, I was fresh out of college and trying to find the next steps in my career. I started working with an AmeriCorps program in Connecticut called LEAP, Leadership, Education, and Athletics in Partnership. We serve children and families in public housing. That experience inspired me to pursue a career in public service, to focus on uplifting my fellow Americans and tackling some of our biggest domestic challenges: poverty, affordable housing, quality education, gun violence. That experience, without a doubt, helped put me on the trajectory to serve and to ultimately be Attorney General today. As former President Bill Clinton, who created AmeriCorps, once said, quote, "Service is a spark to rekindle the spirit of democracy in an age of uncertainty." Trump is snuffing out that spark, smothering our democracy in his sweeping campaign to unlawfully expand his authority and wrest unchecked control of our nation. First, Trump came for USAID, then the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, the Presidio Trust in San Francisco, the U.S. Institute of Peace, the Department of Education, and more. Now, this, an agency entirely devoted to public service, volunteers committed to strengthening our communities, finding common ground, and getting things done for the greater good. When will Trump's rampage against all that makes America great stop? When there is no one left besides the president, Elon Musk, and Doge? We can't allow this to continue. My colleagues and I won't. No one is above the law, not even Trump. With today's lawsuit, we say to the president on his 100th day in office, we'll see you in court again. Before I open it up for questions, I want to give a shout out to the dedicated public servants at California DOJ who've given their careers to standing up for Californians and Americans and who made this lawsuit possible. Ezra Couts, Brian Bilford, Joel Marrero, Sonny Downer, Damon Brown, Ellie Bloom, Michael Newman, Christina Bull-Arndt. And with that, I will pass it on to my colleague from Delaware, Kathy Jennings.
Thank you, Attorney General Bonta, for your excellent remarks. You summed it up. I want to tell everyone today how proud I am to be Delaware's Attorney General and to be with my colleagues in this very important fight. This is a fight to save our national service because our national service is under attack. And we, Democratic Attorneys General, refuse to stand by and let it happen. AmeriCorps embodies the best of America: service, community, and compassion. Gutting it isn't just cruel and pointless, it's also illegal. Every year, AmeriCorps empowers more than 200,000 Americans to help rebuild after disasters, support our veterans, fight the opioid crisis, and tutor struggling students. In Delaware alone, AmeriCorps funding supports critical programs like reading programs, our West End Neighborhood Community House, and Children's Beach House, programs that literally save lives. This fight isn't about dollars and cents. These grants cost pennies to taxpayers, but they mean a lifetime of opportunity to the students, veterans, and families that they have. We are suing to save AmeriCorps because the Trump administration's actions are as unlawful as they are heartless. Congress created AmeriCorps. The president cannot unilaterally dismantle it. I am proud to lead this lawsuit with Attorneys General Bonta and Weiser and Attorney General Anthony Brown, who unfortunately could not be here today, but who was indispensable to our efforts. I am also very grateful to Delaware's U.S. Senator Chris Coons, who has pulled out literally every stop to save this vitally important agency. We celebrate the spirit of service that AmeriCorps represents. We will defend it in the courts and in our communities. We are fighting not just for funding, but for the future of national service and for the values that bind our communities together. Delaware and the state standing with us today will not stand silent. We will fight back. We are joined by 23 attorneys general. We are joined by 2 governors, the governor of Pennsylvania, the governor of Kentucky, both of whom served as attorneys general before they became governors. Thank you, Governors Josh Shapiro and Andy Beshear. Thank you to all of the attorneys general who joined us in this worthwhile fight for the future of national service. It is the principle that matters. It matters a great deal in this time of darkness. And while we have brought many lawsuits, some of which have to do with constitutional rights like birthright citizenship, some of whom have to do with the need to keep funding into our states from the federal government, this one strikes at our hearts, because without national service, who are we as a country? We're going to fight, we're going to win, and thank you everybody for joining us today. With that, I believe I am turning this over to my friend and colleague, Attorney General Phil Weiser of Colorado.
Thank you, Attorney General Jennings. Thank you, Attorney General Bonta, for your leadership and partnership. My question to this administration is nothing sacred, is nothing worth protecting. To AG Jennings' point, let's talk about what AmeriCorps is doing right now. Let's talk about what AmeriCorps is doing in Colorado, working with groups like Youth for a Change, which is helping young people make up ground lost during the pandemic. In the wake of this pandemic, we know kids have suffered, often falling back in terms of their achievement on reading and math. And AmeriCorps volunteers in Colorado, working with organizations like Youth for a Change, are supporting young people live their best lives. And this support is a dual promise, both because AmeriCorps volunteers are supporting young people. We've got over 1,000 in Colorado, but also those young people are learning a spirit of service that they too themselves can become volunteers, to be a part of something bigger than themselves, develop hope for their future and a sense of purpose. That's how we in America fulfill our promise of self-governance, that we the people govern means that we the people can serve. Like AG Bonta, my first job out of college was in public service. It wasn't an AmeriCorps program, but it was another program whose mission was to prepare young people for a life of service. And that's the life I've lived. That's the life that we need people to be encouraged and supported. And I then ask the question once again, is nothing sacred and worth preserving? Because if you don't preserve the basic idea that service is a noble calling and that people who are vulnerable, having lost ground in education, or veterans, or struggling with the opioid crisis, we are taught through generations to serve. And different religious traditions have different ways of capturing this teaching. America is a land where we serve and support one another. And our Constitution has a crucial point. Congress makes the laws. If a president doesn't like the laws, the president can ask Congress to change them. But once again, we have a lawsuit where the president is breaking the law. The president is acting above the law, saying, I'm not going to bother asking Congress to change the law. I'm going to gut it myself. That's not how our system works. That's why we're going to court. We'd welcome your questions.
If you'd like to ask a question, you may do so by clicking on the raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen. You will then be moved to the queue. Please wait to speak until I call on you. You will be unmuted at that point. Please make sure you state your publication and if you have a question for a specific attorney general. You can also submit a question through the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. Again, click the raise hand icon to ask a question. First question comes from Michael. You are now unmuted.
Good morning and good afternoon for those on the East Coast. I am Michael Zinstein with Cal Matters. This is a question for Attorney General Bonta. Thank you for joining us. So of the 1,031 programs that were cut in California on April 25th, can you tell me more about, or tell us more about whether these programs were largely education, like K-12 higher ed, or were they environmental, or were they part of that general cluster of AmeriCorps that CA Volunteers organizes? And the follow-up to that is, were these already approved? So is this a case of funding being terminated midway after approval, or is this new funding that, like unallocated funding that will not be funded?
Thank you for your question. Let me try to answer the second one first. There are $400 million in grants that are canceled. So and like many of the actions that the Trump administration has taken, he is seeking to revoke or impound, whatever you want to call it, already congressionally appropriated funding. Funding that's gone out in different forms, either through direct appropriation or through a grant making process. So it's after the fact by an individual who has no authority to revoke. Again, as mentioned, Congress has the power of the purse. Congress has the power to appropriate, to spend. The president must take care to implement and execute. He's in the executive branch, what the Congress has appropriated. He's doing the opposite here, trying to be Congress. And so reversing and revoking grants that have been given already. So that's item one. With the level of specificity that you're inquiring about regarding the broad range of service that AmeriCorps volunteers do in California, we probably have to follow up to get you that level of specificity. But I did go over some of the key factors in terms of, over 6,000 volunteers, 1,200 locations, 4.3 million hours, students tutored, youth in foster systems served, trees planted. So I tried to give you that overview in part to show the variety of service, and they're all important. They all are important to kindling that spirit of service and helping one another and focusing on us and we instead of I and me that we need so much in this country. But we can follow up with more specifics.
Thanks.
Any other questions? I think that's it. If you guys want to give brief closing remarks.
Just great thanks to my partners here. We are here again, standing up for the rule of law, for our democracy, to make sure that this president acts within his given authority. Unfortunately, we've had to do it 16 times. He's a president that is violating the law blatantly, brazenly, consistently, and frequently. And each and every time he does so, we will meet him in court to stop him. This is yet another time where he's attacking one of the foundational service programs. There's the Peace Corps that serves internationally and the AmeriCorps, which serves domestically. And serving one another is so critical to who we are, to our identity as a nation. He's broken the law and the Constitution yet again, and we will stop him. And I'm grateful to Attorneys General Jennings and Weiser. And I hand it back to you, Attorney General Jennings.
Thank you. I too am grateful for your attendance today. It matters. And it really matters that we're fighting this fight. I mean, we are the first line of defense. We're actually the last line of defense as well. It is attorneys general in this state or in this country who have shown tremendous courage by standing up. We will not back down, and we will fight for the future of national service. It matters. It's a cause that is near and dear to Americans. And I am grateful for your attention today to our fight. And please stay tuned because we will continue this battle on.
Two final messages, particularly for young people. Service is a noble calling, and this attack on service is un-American. We need young people to find their calling. We need a call to service like the call that John F. Kennedy had generations ago. Our nation depends on those willing to serve in law enforcement, in supporting people struggling with behavioral health, so fighting wildfires and more. We need you. We also need the rule of law, and May 1st is traditionally known as Law Day coming up this week. Our nation is founded on a simple principle: we will live under the rule of law. This means we don't live under the whim of an executive who says, forget the law, I want to act in ways that are lawless. No one's above the law. And this executive, President Trump, has a choice. You can follow the law and have lawyers tell you, no, if you want to end AmeriCorps, you have to go to Congress to get them to stop appropriating money or to dismantle the agency, something Congress has refused to do. But if Congress won't do it, you can't do it unilaterally. And if you try, we're going to stop you in court, just like we are in these other cases. Thank you all for your engagement. It's important that the American people understand what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Thank you for joining us today. Honored to serve alongside you and with you, Attorneys General Jennings and Weiser, and another shout out to AG Brown. Onward and upward. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Arman. I just want to introduce you to City Attorney David Chu.
How are you? Great to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Armand, I'm with Democracy Forward. Chief of Staff.
Oh, awesome. Excellent.
Yeah.
Are you flew out here for this? Or
I am based out of LA, so I was anything on the West Coast. It's easier for me to come than from back home. So
Right on. Well, thank you for being out here. Let me see if
grateful for you all having
on
me.
a moment's notice too. Staff has a card, but obviously, do you have a card?
Totally forgot mine.
Yeah, recovery.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
I packed this morning.
It's for you. Team stock. Rico.
Yes, sir.
This is San Francisco.
Hey, how are you?
Attorney
Good to meet
David
you.
Chu.
Let's go.
Yeah,
Rico
good to
Mendes.
see you too. Right on.
Get you over the years.
Yes.
Again.
Yes. He leads us.
SEIU Local 521.
Excellent.
I got from South San Francisco all the way down to Bakersfield.
Right on. And overall badass. Yes.
And I'm Armand. I'm with Democracy Forward.
Good to meet you. Glad you're here today.
Yeah,
It's a great coalition of people.
Appreciate standing with all of you guys.
This is the right cause to do it.
Yeah.
It's the right time, the right place. Time to fight back. We've been in some good fights with the administration already. We've been going down to Bakersfield and challenging
That's
Dale on
true.
Medicaid.
That's
Votes.
Keep going.
Yeah, sit-ins, and we had Ro Connor come down and do a town hall event.
That's okay.
Standing room only. AOC at Burger King.
Let you know how we can all help and engage.
So this is part of it right here.
So what I was thinking is you guys could be flanking basically the podium. So I mean, Tony, since you'll be starting first, I think City Attorney, we can have you here.
Okay.
We'll have President Lee kind of on the opposite side. And then Arman and Rico next to them on each side. And then when you guys come up to the podium, just replace whoever, can kind of stand there where there's a spot. And then we'll have folks kind of gather around. And the speaking order is just here for folks. You can introduce the person after you, or if you don't, they'll just know when to come up. Okay. So we've got Tony starting off, David, President Lee, and you will introduce Armand. Exactly. We've been there after you. And then we'll close with kind of Q&A. Tony will facilitate with reporters and pass it to whoever, kind of feel based on questions. So we'll do that for, maybe 10 minutes, however long we'll see how many questions are. And then we can break off and do one-on-one interviews.
That sounds perfect. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to introduce everybody together, and then so folks will just follow in after one another and just make sure to re-mention their name.
Great.
But I am going to do the
Armand, how do I pronounce your last name?
Babumian.
Babumian. Yes, absolutely. Thanks for coming down.
It's phonetically correct. It's just Paul.
What kind of name is that?
King Cohen with the South Bay Labor Council.
It's good to be here. Where'd I grow up? A little bit of everywhere, but mostly in Southern California.
That's where I have my most Armenian friends are all from California.
I lived up
Kim
here
and I
for
work very
college and law
closely
school,
with Rudy
so
as
I
well.
spent most of my time in the Bay Area before moving to
All right.
DC.
Well, I think we should pretty much ready to go. Let me just check in.
And Democracy Forward, like, what's the main
You're on
function?
Good. Now, lately, we've sued the government.
Hey, how are you, Betty?
Good to see you.
You're doing such great work. I saw that piece on you. It was really awesome.
Hi, I'm Betty.
I'm Armand from Democracy Forward.
Supervisor Jung is a supervisor in District 2. And you know Gene, of course.
Hi, good morning.
Toughest, hardest spot.
Ready?
Oh, Presente.
Hey, how are you?
That's what it is.
Your ears must have been burning. I was in DC.
Well, that means you know
Talking all about you
something
in your cafe.
If they're willing to put $1 million against you, you're doing
Let's get
something.
to the last 10 weeks of campaign.
She was,
What's that?
I didn't know she was.
I know, but
They're all active. Sisters are all.
Yeah.
That kind of.
She's the government manager at Amazon.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I saw the Amazon was he was on the right side.
Yeah. I'd rather be here than someone else. Yeah, but we're not allowed to talk.
You're not allowed to.
We're not. My mom is not allowed to talk about work.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
But on the front porch, though.
In the driveway, we're like, yeah, make sure everybody gets these conversations at home.
Nice.
Yeah, but my sister and I are only a year and 3 days apart. Yeah.
She was telling me about it.
That's my best friend for life. Yeah.
Can you be up here with us?
Yeah, then I'm supposed to be here.
Yes, please.
So I'm here.
Yes.
Okay,
Good to see you.
tell me
Good to see you.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I think let's actually get you guys in position. So Tony, President Lee.
I mean, that's most
You want to have the city attorney. Let's have you over here.
You want me over here?
Yeah. That's
Okay.
great. President Lee, you can stand right over
So right here, okay.
Bill, if you want to stand right over
Yes, sir.
Eugene, and then actually
Love being choreographed.
Mm-hmm.
It's always good to have the team choreograph us.
I know. Where were you before you were the city attorney?
state legislature.
That's when I met you, yes.
100%.
I can't remember. I was a long time San Francisco resident. Lived on 44th and Balboa.
Oh, right on.
And I often.
Yep.
Yeah. Good morning. I'm Tony Lopresti, County Counsel for the County of Santa Clara. I really want to thank everybody for coming out. We're announcing today that the County of Santa Clara and the City and County of San Francisco, together with a broad coalition of labor organizations, nonprofits, and other local governments, have filed a lawsuit in the Northern District of California challenging the Trump administration's unconstitutional reorganization and deconstruction of federal governmental agencies. I'm going to say a few words about the lawsuit, and then I'm going to introduce my fellow speakers, City Attorney, San Francisco City Attorney David Chu, Board of Supervisors President Otto Lee, Labor Leader Rico Mendes, and Chief of Staff and Deputy General Counsel from Democracy Forward, Arman Babumian. I'll also acknowledge a few folks that have been partners here, and then once the speakers are finished, I'll open it up for some questions, and then we'll break out for any interviews that people would like to do. The lawsuit that our coalition filed last night is, at its foundation, about protecting the United States Constitution and the rule of law. Only Congress has the authority to dissolve or restructure federal agencies. Congress can certainly delegate that authority to the president. In fact, over the last 100 years, Congress has given 9 separate presidents, Democrat and Republican, authority to reorganize federal agencies. President Trump is not one of them. At no point has Congress authorized President Trump's actions to reorganize and dismantle the federal agencies that are so critical to our nation's well-being and security. In fact, the last time Trump was in office, he asked Congress for reorganization authority, and Congress said no. This time, President Trump has chosen to bypass Congress and usurp its authority. He's trying to proceed with these fundamental changes to federal agencies without the required congressional approval. Beneath the legal complexity, this case really boils down to the basic civics that we all learned in high school. There are, as we all know, 3 co-equal branches of government. The president's job is to execute the laws, not to make the laws. When the president attempts to take the legislative power away from the legislative branch and claim it as his own, we are facing an existential threat to democracy. That is why we are asking the judiciary, a 3rd co-equal branch of the government, to force the Trump administration to follow the Constitution. Over the past several months, we've seen the Department of Government Efficiency, led by Elon Musk, and other agencies giving unlawful orders to carry out the president's agenda. The impacts to federal agencies and workers are imminent, and they are profound. To name just a few examples, we know that the Department of Energy and Small Business Administration will cut 43% of their staff. US EPA and HUD will cut more than half their staffs. The VA plans to cut 83,000 jobs. Health and Human Services, 20,000 jobs. USDA, 9,000 jobs. These are people who work in every corner of the nation. They are nurses and doctors. They are biologists and chemists, caseworkers and technical experts. These are the people who prevent infectious diseases and invasive species from spreading within our borders. In short, these are people who keep us safe. You might ask why, amidst all the adversity and the uncertainty and the volatility that is facing local governments right now, that the county is taking on this battle. The answer is simple. Our county and our residents depend on federal agencies and federal workers. We depend on CDC to coordinate with our public health department to prevent the spread of disease. And in fact, CDC was integral to San Francisco and Santa Clara's leadership in responding to the COVID-19 pandemic. We depend on HUD to provide resources and support to combat homelessness. We depend on USDA, EPA, the National Weather Service to coordinate responses to major emergencies like wildfires and earthquakes. We depend on the VA to ensure that our veterans and their families have the services they need to survive and to thrive. The list goes on. Counties and cities and the residents we serve rely upon these federal agencies and the civil servants within those agencies to ensure that government as a whole delivers on its core purpose, to care for people. We could not be more proud to work with this broad coalition of counties and cities, labor unions, and nonprofits that is standing up for the Constitution and the people it is designed to protect. I'm honored to be speaking today with San Francisco City Attorney David Chu, who has been really a staunch advocate and a leader amongst local governments litigating to hold the federal administration accountable. City Attorney Chu is going to be followed by Otto Lee, president of the Santa Clara Board of Supervisors, that has, together with the whole Board of Supervisors, demonstrated really extraordinary leadership and courage guiding the county through this unprecedented time. We'll hear then from Rico Mendes, the Chief Elected Officer of SEIU 521 and President of the Executive Board of the South Bay Labor Council. Local 521 and Mr. Mendes have been important allies with us in the first administration, successfully fighting back against the repeal of DACA, and we're certainly thrilled to be working in alliance with labor again. And finally, we'll hear from Arman Babumian, Chief of Staff and Deputy General Counsel for Democracy Forward, that's played a pivotal role in this case. I'd also like to just quickly recognize a few other folks in attendance today. We have Supervisor Betty Jung, who's here with us, Jean Cohen, Executive Officer of the South Bay Labor Council, and then our County Council team working on this case, including Chief Assistant County Counsel Kavita Narayan, Lead Deputy County Counsel Meredith Johnson, and Deputy County Counsels Ravi Rajendra and Hannah Godby. Ravi is actually unable to make it here today. Finally, I want to recognize several organizations providing representation in this case, including Public Rights Project, Protect Democracy, and State Democracy Defenders Fund. In particular, I want to thank Democracy Forward and Altshuler Berzon LLP, which have been really driving forces behind this case and the legal theory that's at the foundation of it. I'll turn it over now to City Attorney David Chu.
Thank you, Tony. As Tony mentioned, I'm David Chu, the City Attorney of San Francisco, representing the City and County of San Francisco. Let me first start by thanking the leadership of the County of Santa Clara, represented here today by amazing elected officials. I also want to thank the incredible labor leaders who stand with us, the leaders representing the nonprofit community, and thank Tony Lopresti and the Santa Clara County Counsel's office. His office, along with my office and our Attorney General, we've been three of the most active public law offices in standing up for Californians and defending our jurisdictions around what is happening today. President Trump's complete disregard for the rule of law has had incredibly harmful impacts on our local communities. During his first 100 days, Trump has directed nearly every federal agency to make massive illegal cuts to their workforces in furtherance of a reorganization of the entire federal government. As Tony just said, from the Social Security Administration to the IRS, from the Housing and Urban Development Department to Labor and the Small Business Administration, to the EPA and the Energy Department, to critical public health agencies, including the Centers for Disease Control, the Food and Drug Administration, the National Institutes of Health, our federal government has been decimated and thrown into complete disarray. These dramatic and illegal changes have made it extremely difficult for local communities and local governments to effectively deliver our programs and services, as massive layoffs and staffing shortages have ground intergovernmental work to a halt. We have been forced to file this lawsuit because yet again, Donald Trump is violating the Constitution. Trump cannot radically restructure federal agencies through massive layoffs with a mere stroke of the pen on an executive order. Only Congress has that power to change the federal government in the ways that Trump has directed. Only Congress has the power to reorganize federal agencies as Trump wishes. Our Constitution's separation of powers principle was specifically intended to prevent the abuse of presidential authority. Yet Trump is blatantly ignoring checks and balances and trying to act as both president and Congress. Our lawsuit describes how President Trump, how the Elon Musk-led Department of Government Efficiency, otherwise known as DOGE, the Office of Personnel Management, and the Office of Management and Budget have collectively unlawfully ordered the restructuring and mass termination of federal employees without obtaining the required congressional authority. Again, a clear violation of the Constitution. We are seeking judicial intervention to stop the implementation of the president's unlawful actions, which has resulted in the dismantling of the federal government on a scale unprecedented in our country's history. Now, I'll mention this is the 5th lawsuit my office has taken part in during Trump's first 100 days, and this lawsuit has involved the largest coalition thus far, including many national labor organizations, critical nonprofits, cities and counties across the country. And there's a reason our coalition is massive, given the incredible harms, not just on our cities and counties, but our entire country. As far as I know, we still live in a democracy, and what is happening is illegal and authoritarian, and this is why San Francisco stands with this coalition and this lawsuit to stand up for the Constitution and our rule of law while it still exists.
Thank you very much, David. Good morning. I am Otto Lee, the current board president of Santa Clara County. I'm honored to serve the families and every resident right here in Santa Clara County, the largest county in Northern California of over 1.9 million residents. And I would like to start by recognizing the powerful coalition that has come together to file this suit, including members from the largest unions in the country. The AFGE, the American Federation of Government Employees, including Local 2110 from Palo Alto, the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, SEIU, Service Employees International Union, including Local 1000 and 521. And we want to say a special thanks to the South Bay Labor Council, SEIU Local 521, and Chief Elected Officer Rico Mendes for representing so many thousands of our county employees and the voices of our working families. Attack on any one group of workers is an attack on all workers. Organizing together, side by side, make us stronger in fighting back against oppression, against treason, and against corporate greed. This lawsuit is about the solidarity with the thousands upon thousands of federal workers impacted by the White House callous and chaotic actions to reshape our federal government, making the America we know unrecognizable. Our federal workforce plays such an important role in making our government work every day. Whether it's making sure that our retirees receiving their Social Security benefits, providing life-saving medical and scientific research, helping to prevent the spread of infectious diseases, or, and personally, very important to me, providing critical services and care to our veterans. What DOGE is doing is more than just chaotic, it's really dangerous. What was sold as efficiency is actually cruelty and harm, and this senseless breakdown of our federal government's function must be stopped immediately. And I want to thank our County Counsel, Tony Lopresti, and San Francisco City Attorney, David Chu, and the legal teams that are bringing this litigation forward. This is the only recourse we have to put a stop to this illegal activity. The federal government's current staffing mess has direct impacts on our ability at a local level to serve our communities every day. And I want to acknowledge my fellow Board of Supervisors members who are here today, Betty Young, and I'm so thankful to serve alongside them as part of a board that cares about the people and good government. We strive to be a model for successful local government, but we can't do that in a vacuum. We can't do that alone. We depend on the state government and also the federal government to be our partners to serve our community. 30% of our county's budget comes from federal funding. And so when DOGE and the OMB put forward funding freezes or try to cut federal funding at such a massive scale, we at the local level will feel the impacts very, very sharply. It's gonna really hurt. Everything coming out of the White House to reshape the federal institutions is going to have major impacts on us right here in Santa Clara County and the entire Bay Area. There's ripple effects, and that will get worse as it spreads. As a 28-year Navy veteran myself, I especially think about our veterans who are impacted significantly by these cuts. You see, 30% of our federal workforce are actually veterans. So when you are proposing to cut 80,000 federal employees who work at the Veterans Affairs Administration, VA, almost 20% of that workforce, this is going to be catastrophic. Already, 2,400 VA staff have been fired, and more than 6,000 veterans have been removed from the federal jobs nationwide. What's suffering as a result? Disability claims are experiencing month-long delay. Mental health services have been slashed. Appointments have been canceled and postponed. Crisis lines have extensive backlogs. Look, it is completely immoral for people who served our country to be treated this way. To lose their job or to see these critical services to be cut so deeply. This is not government efficiency. It is cruel, self-inflicted chaos. And we have to stand up now, or more and more people will be left behind. Therefore, I'm very proud that our county is part of this national coalition that is taking a stand, a strong stand at this time to say enough is enough. We are not going to let our institutions die by 1,000 cuts. We are going to stop this political destruction and nightmare to stabilize our government for the sake of all of us, but especially for those who need the government to work the most. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Otto. Great job. Great job. Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to be here. My name is Rico Mendes. My title is the Chief Elected Officer of SEIU Local 521, representing over 70,000 public employees, child care providers, and nonprofit workers, public hospital workers from San Mateo, Santa Clara County in the north, all the way down to Bakersfield and Kern County in the south. I'm also part of SEIU International, an organization that represents over 2 million workers of all sectors across the United States of America, Canada, and Puerto Rico. I must say I'm beaming with pride right now, and passion, and anger, all together at the same time. And it's because of the situation that we're facing right now, not just here in Santa Clara County, not just here in California, but in the entire United States of America. You know, I get the luxury as a labor leader to wake up every single day and figure out ways to fight back, ways to advocate for services and support workers. And the reason we do this, and the reason I have passion for what I do, is because the impact that advocacy has. That advocacy and work of our union and in coalition with these amazing, spectacular human beings and everything they represent that are standing up here with me, is that the community gets services. That's what it's about. Our most precious resource, our children, being able to have quality child care. Children that are struggling with anxiety and need therapy, they get these services through our county and in many ways because of funding from the federal government. The ability to service the elderly, our veterans, to fund our schools. to keep society moving in a positive direction and not rolling backwards into dark times. That's what these people who have been fired, that's what this overreach of this president who is trying to actually dismantle some of these critical services by firing these workers, that's what's at stake. And so for me, somebody that works directly with these workers on the front line, hears their stories, I know what's at stake. And it's not sensationalism, and it's not hyperbole to say that this is a life or death fight. If we don't win this fight, so many of our brothers and sisters and people in our society will not live to see another day. And that's the seriousness that we bring to this lawsuit. That's the seriousness that we bring to challenging this administration with this terrible, unlawful overreach, because that's what's at stake for all of us. Every single one of us out there has a family member that's been on Medicaid, that will rely on Social Security, that may have been a veteran, that has a condition that requires ongoing care. Think of the researchers that are now getting their funding cut, that are working on cures for cancer, that could save millions of people into the future. That's what's at stake here. So this coalition, this lawsuit, SEIU, the counties, the nonprofits that are standing with us, I'm proud that we're joining together, because we're not just filing a lawsuit to stop the overreach. We're working together to fight authoritarianism creeping into our society, that's being pushed and advocated for and made to happen by not just President Trump, but all of the puppeteers that put someone like that in office. So we're going to do everything that we can as a union to fight this. We're going to work with as many other organizations as we can, just like these amazing people behind me, to fight this off, because we are built for this. This is what we do. We wake up every single day, and we get to fight authoritarianism, and we get to advocate for services, and we get to fight for the people. And that's what we're going to do with this lawsuit, and this is just the beginning. Thank you very much. With that, I would like to introduce Arman Babumian from Democracy Forward. Let's give it up for Arman.
Thank you, and good morning. My name is Arman Babumian. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me. I am the Chief of Staff and Deputy General Counsel at Democracy Forward. And at Democracy Forward, we've been on the front line of fighting the Trump administration, and we do that through litigating and securing wins in court on behalf of nonprofits, veterans groups, houses of worships, unions, and many more. Since Inauguration Day, 100 days ago, there have been more than 200 lawsuits filed against the Trump administration. And judges from all stripes have ruled against the administration in court. At Democracy Forward alone, we have filed more than 55 legal actions and initiated 82 investigations.